Hey love, I'm Sharr Smith, intuitive energy alchemist and spiritual teacher. Welcome to Journey to Self, an emotional wellness and self-discovery podcast here to ask the powerful questions so you can reveal the true potential that exists in all things for yourself, like your life, your business, and your manifestations. Journey to Self is your reliable resource for learning how to adapt and overcome. Each episode, we cover topics that allow you to hold space for yourself and pay attention to where your thoughts are building momentum. This is so you can take control and transmute the energies of stress, anxiety, and even burnout and begin to create a happy, healthy, and balanced life. So welcome to the very first episode of Journey to Self. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. Okay. So today we are talking about friendship breakups or losing friends you never thought you would and how to overcome it. So how to let go, grieve it, and move on using something that I like to call the fundamental emotional energetic mindsets. Okay, there are 4 of them. This is episode 1 of a 4-part series teaching you all about these mindsets I've created to help serve as mantras and reminders anytime that I need to regulate my nervous system in an emotional crisis. Now, if you don't know, an emotional crisis is any moment where your emotions become so overwhelming that your ability to mentally and or physically function decline. Each of these mindsets is actually part of the foundation that supports and sustains my signature methodology called the cycle of stillness. And it teaches you some of the basics around how to actually navigate emotional crisis. So today I'm going to teach you the first mindset by actually sharing a story with you from a time that I lost a friendship and had to grieve all that came with it and what all I had to do in order to overcome it. So now at the end of this episode, you're going to have the insights that I had to learn the hard way to help you find peace and navigate life after your friendship has ended. This helped me remove a lot of unnecessary suffering, take accountability, remove the guilt and shame that didn't belong to me, and find peace. Now, I'm not saying you will never miss the person, the friendship, or how it made you feel. What I am saying is that you will learn how to give those aspects and elements to yourself so that the friendship or the next friendship that you build is icing on the cake, not the cake itself. All right, so the very first fundamental emotional energetic mindset is it's not personal, it's just energy. So we met around 2004. The friendship lasted about 12 years, and our sisterhood had really seen a lot of ups and downs, like plenty, okay? We supported each other through a lot of firsts, goals, wins, losses, love, marriage, heartbreak, abuse, family drama, and celebrations, etc. Like, we was doing things. I even got to watch her phenomenal soul evolve as she brought 2 beautiful beings in this world and navigated the loss of another. There was partying, gaming, so much good food. Like, we ate good. Travel up and down the coast, stepping into the different natures and nuances of womanhood and all that that means, especially being Black in America. Now, if you know, okay? And a shit ton of wild and crazy adventures, like some of which we still have no clue to this day how we even lived to tell the tale. But nothing honestly could have prepared me for what at the time felt like one of the biggest losses in my life, okay? So now keep in mind, I can only speak for myself, but as someone who deeply struggled at that time in my life to feel safe, worthy, and connected to this world, it was like I couldn't breathe when things fell apart. You know that feeling where no matter how hard you try, you just can't seem to inhale enough air? It was like that. Or being stabbed by somebody you trusted like you see in the movies. Y'all are looking each other in the eyes as they say, "I'm sorry," but none of it changes the fact that you're bleeding out and have a knife lunged in you, or the reality that you can't take in enough air, right? You're shocked, you're hurt, and even angry, but even in the midst of life leaving your body, you still understand why they did it. And even in death, have compassion and empathy for them and the pain that they must have endured to even get to this point or that point and decision, right? So around 2014, 2015, things kind of took a turn and our friendship was never the same. There was a lot of disappearing for weeks at a time. The distance between us grew bigger and bigger. And before I knew it, we were barely on speaking terms. Now, there was no arguing or anything like that. Just a lot of things left unspoken and unresolved for years, okay? We eventually had the hard conversation, but it took a while for me to get to a place where I was healed enough to have it and not be triggered. Because from my particular point of view, I was rejected and abandoned without any clue, rhyme, or reason as to why. I knew I hadn't done anything to justify being treated that way. I was just clueless and in the dark, right? So I did what we all do when we can't find the answers and have no clue as to what's going on. I turned the worry, the anger, the anxiety, the frustration, and disappointment in on myself. And I truly believed it was something wrong with me, especially since I'd endured so much ridicule all throughout grade school, right? It was just a natural, quote unquote, conclusion for me to come to, oh, it must be me, I must be the problem, or it must be something I didn't say or do, right? You know how we think, how we begin to play these different games of stress and anxiety where we are blaming ourselves for everything, right? But it wasn't until we had the talk that I learned she was navigating depression and challenges of an abusive marriage. And in the same instance, she in turn learned that I was navigating challenges of depression, relationship abuse, and ideations of unsubscribing from breathing. Now, before we continue, if this is you, connect with people you trust. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And you can always call the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline anonymously at 988, and it's available 24 hours, okay? So now continuing with the story, it had nothing to do with me personally. It was simply a matter of us having learned how to cope in two different ways. Now, some would say this is selfish, but in all honesty, I felt cheated. I felt cheated out of the opportunity to be there for a friend, somebody that I dearly and deeply cared about and wanted to see thrive and live her best life, right? And be there when she needed me the most. But it didn't matter that I was going through my own shit. It was just the expectation I held for myself and honestly others that I was in friendships with, right? To be there no matter what. Now, society calls this loyalty, but in truth, it's both unrealistic and self-destructive. Why? Because it prioritizes self-sacrifice over balanced connection and support for mutual well-being. Now, let me be clear. This is not an issue of being supportive within your means. This is, however, an issue of failure to communicate. So prior to doing the healing work and having this conversation, I carried a lot of guilt, shame, and responsibility that wasn't mine to carry. This is not to be confused with accountability, aka taking ownership of your own emotions and the way that you choose to respond to situations, right? Now, responsibility is when you take on tasks that may or may not actually belong to you, such as processing someone else's emotions or taking on the aftermath of someone else's mistakes, right? The moment you realize it's not personal, it's just energy, is the moment you begin to drastically reduce unnecessary suffering in any and all areas of your life. For me, it was the release of all the guilt and shame that I was carrying and that was wearing and tearing on my nervous system, as well as my overall being mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. This is someone I saw as more than a dear friend. They literally grew to be like family to me. We were spending like almost every day hanging out, chilling, kicking it, right? Like we was just doing our own little thing in our own little world, discovering life and new experiences, right? And so because I had no clue what was going on at the time, despite every effort to reach out, things like stress and mental anxiety ran a fucking muck, okay? I began to doubt myself, the friendship, whether or not I was to blame, my value, like all the things, okay? Because the mind is very interesting, okay? It doesn't like uncertainty, and all hell breaks loose when it doesn't have clarity or answers to form and follow the patterns it deems necessary to keep you safe. And so the brain only cares about one thing, and that's survival. It prioritizes your survival above everything and at all costs. For example, all of the relationships that you have, right? So this is platonic, romantic, or otherwise. Those relationships create and provide a pattern that your brain associates with fail-proof ways to keep you safe, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So when disruptions occur in those patterns, all your brain sees is danger. We're going the wrong way. This path is not safe, right? And this is even if it is a relationship or a way of being outside the relationship that is healthier, happier, and more supportive for you. It doesn't match the proven pattern, so your imagination literally begins to run wild and often assumes either you are the problem or that you are doing something wrong. It doesn't matter if you're talking about love, friendship, money, or going to the grocery store. But the truth is, this couldn't be further from the truth. In reality, friendship or relationships, period, are an energetic exchange. And in order for energetic exchanges to be fulfilling for everyone involved, they must be both even and equal. They must support the well-being and unrestricted expressions of both entities for the benefit of a common goal. We are all souls having a human experience, navigating the best that we can with what we know, believe to be true, and the resources we have in each present moment as it unfolds. This means that we're all living in our own reality according to our own belief systems and desires. At the end of the day, it's simply a matter of energetic exchange and energetic cocktails. Think in terms of mixology and your favorite cocktail, or mocktail if you don't drink, right? As we grow and have new experiences, the energetic frequencies that we operate within and from change, right? And when those we are in relationship with are not on the same frequency, there is always the potential for energetic imbalance to occur where neither frequency can support or sustain the other. So sometimes you mix your energy with someone else's and life tastes delicious. Chef kiss, right? Other times, not so much. It could be the same person that you're talking about in an energy exchange, or it could be with someone completely and totally different or new, right? Even still, it's not a personal attack on you. The friendship ending is not a personal attack on you, your character, your worthiness, or anything like that. It's an energetic exchange for you to observe, gather insight, and learn from. It's just data there to inform your path forward and feedback, letting you know what to adjust in your inner world so you can feel safe, sane, and secure as you navigate the outer world. So yes, the grief of losing a friend and sister hit me hard and hurt like hell, but it wasn't personal. It was just energy. In other words, life was unfolding for the both of us at a time where the ingredients in our cocktail had changed and no longer created a delicious beverage to enjoy. The love and appreciation is still there, but the ingredients we have to give no longer support one another. So I ask you, where are you steady buying watered down drinks at the bar, knowing that you can get a higher quality one either at the house or somewhere else cheaper, right? Why is it still an option for you to overgive, overwork, and sacrifice yourself in a situation that refuses to honor, support, and pour back into you the way that you deserve to be? What if there is a more supportive way of interpreting the loss of friendship and the stress, anxiety, displeasure, or anger the experience has triggered for you? What if you stop making the situation mean something specifically about you, your worth, and your value, and instead understood that it's simply not personal, it's just energy? If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow the podcast for more and so you can stick around for the rest of the 4-part series. Make sure you take a second to also rate the podcast and share it with a friend or on your social. For more insights, tips, and access to my free self-care checklist, subscribe to my newsletter, The House of Soul Love, over on Substack. All of the links are available for you in the show notes, okay? I want to give a special shout out to Lonnie. By the time that you listen to this, or if you listen to this, I want you to know that I am grateful to know you. I will and have always considered our friendship to be a gift. And even though I can't be there with you now, and our cocktail no longer mixes the way that it used to, I celebrate the woman that you've become. Thank you for it all. May you always continue to thrive. Thanks so much for listening to Journey to Self, your number one resource for emotional wellness and self-discovery, helping you learn how to adapt and overcome. Scroll down, press play, and meet me in the next episode. Bye, love.